This isn't a signing I was expecting, but it's a signing I'm rejoicing over, as Chris Paul is headed to the San Antonio Spurs on a one-year, $11 million contract. On Sunday morning, it seemed like inevitable parting between Paul and the Warriors was approaching, and many thought that he might have to be traded because he was on a $30 million contract and the Warriors wanted to avoid a buyout, or they would potentially have to include a pick just to make it a little more valuable. But no, the Warriors waived him and the Spurs went to the table, and I love absolutely everything about this signing because think about it, everywhere he's gone. Golden State out of the picture only because that roster wasn't built to compete. He missed a chunk of the season. That roster, obviously, they didn't do well. Klay Thompson wasn't great. Curry was doing a lot on his own. But think about it. Everywhere he has gone, he has developed a winning culture. Obviously, in LA, they had the Lob City Clippers. And even in New Orleans, when he spent time there at the beginning of his career, he was playing, he was balling. And then you got to look at the teams like Phoenix and Oklahoma City, and even Houston. They had a winning mentality, and then that culture has been established post their departure. OKC. That team that year was expected to be horrible. They just traded Paul George for the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander Hall, and then they traded Westbrook to the Rockets for CP3, and then they were the 5th seed and almost won a playoff series. The Spurs now have someone who is a lead mentor and can still play, and he wants to come out and prove it. From Chris Haynes, Chris Paul had a great talk with the Spurs coach, Greg Popovich, and was sold on the culture, an opportunity to help elevate the game of Victor Wembanyama. CP is eager and motivated to showcase he's still an elite guard in this league. He can still display that. If the Spurs get 50% of what Chris Paul was in Phoenix, then they've won. They won the deal. They still have money to spend too, because they had $26 million going into the free agency, and now they still have 15 more to spend, and there's still some needs that need to be accomplished. I think Devontae Graham's contract is going to be walked away. Chetty Osman is now off the table, so they're going to gain a little more money, but it won't be significant. But the Spurs still have $15 million in cap space to spend, and that is huge because they need a wing. They might need a backup center. Zach Collins going to be on the move. And there's still a lot of dominoes yet to fall, which could debate how the Spurs are going to go about the rest of free agency. My biggest thing about this is that Stefon Castle's stock has just gone through the roof. I really didn't like the Stefon Castle pick, but I understand that there's some things you just can't teach, like size, length, and defensive instincts. And he has that. And so now Chris Paul is going to come in there and help elevate his ability to generate offense around the mid-range and improve the way he can see the floor and play make next to Victor Wembanyama. And that is something I absolutely love. CP will obviously be the starter as he's now the best point guard on this team. And the Wemby and Chris Paul pick and rolls, it's that one Stephen A. Smith video.
Oh, Lord, don't get me salivating and fantasizing about things. Oh, my God.
Now, one of the questions is, what does this mean for the lineup? Because there's now a multitude of variations they could go for. I think now with this signing, Trae Young is more than likely off the table, or they don't go after a big name point guard, and they are now investing in the development of Castle with Chris Paul, and I'm excited about that. I'm very excited about that. But there is a lot of potential for Steph to play at the 3, just due to his build. So maybe a starting lineup could be Chris Paul, Vassell, Castle, Sohan, and Wemby. But I don't know if that's really the best case if you're trying to invest in stock for Stefon Castle. So I may anticipate him being the one off the bench so he can learn under Chris Paul. Because look at what he's done with guys like Devin Booker, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Obviously, Booker was pretty great before Paul came in, but he elevated his game. Shai was a rookie, or just about a rookie, who had been traded to Oklahoma City, and now he's an MVP caliber player. That's the type of mentorship that you're going to get when you bring Chris Paul into a locker room. A known winner, a great mentor, someone who is going to bring a winning culture to a team, and now he's playing with the mind of Greg Popovich and a guy like Wemby who is eager to win, who is eager to get better. That is absolutely scary for what's going to happen for the young core of this team. So I do anticipate Stefon Castle coming off the bench, and then they'll go and get a wing in free agency because I don't know if Keldon Johnson is going to stay. All jokes aside, Johnson wears number 3, and there's no way that Chris Paul is letting him keep that number if he still remains on the roster, but I don't anticipate he will. If the Spurs are going to do a trade, he has a $19 million salary hit, so he'll be a pretty valuable piece in facilitating trades, especially bigger ones that are going to bring on bigger contracts. So we'll see what happens to him because the Spurs winged up is absolutely horrible, and they need to upgrade in that immediately if they want to potentially be a play-in, play-off, borderline type of team, because now it really was no picture except for we are investing in the youth, and they're continuing to do that. But I anticipate with Chris Paul, this team will be decent. I don't know if they'll be a really high seed, maybe a 4 or 5 seed in the playoffs, but they will certainly be competing for the play-in coming into the season. And I'm very excited to see where this is going to go, because this is only the beginning of free agency. We're only just about 3 hours in, and there is still so many dominoes to fall. There's a lot of guys on the trade market. We know that Lauri Markkanen is one who's going to be widely available, and maybe the Spurs are going to push after him. So that rounds out the rest of the lineup. So we'll see what happens, as there is still so much to happen in free agency. And if you want to make sure you're not missing any of that, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to make sure you never miss one of my videos. And until next time, we'll see the Spurs take on the floor with CP3. I am Ty Talk Sports signing off, and I will see y'all next time.